Welcome to our tutorial on basic editing. In this lesson, we're going to be covering some of the common ways to manipulate your audio and how to navigate around the Cubase interface. If you forgot to name your tracks appropriately, you can do this now. This black strip at the top of the window is called the Event Info line. When you've got an event selected, this line displays a lot of information about the event. Here we see the file name, a description, the start and end points, the length of the event, etc. You can rename the audio file itself by clicking on the name in the Event Info line and typing a new name. Let's do that. And press Enter. This changes the audio file's name right on your hard drive. Let me drag in the Windows Explorer window where the file's located. Here you can see we've renamed it right on our hard drive. You can enter a description if you like also. Currently and by default, it'll display the file name. I'm going to enter the bank name of the sound I used. And see how it displays right on the track for easy viewing? You'll notice what I just did to zoom in. I clicked on the ruler and dragged my mouse downward to zoom in. You drag upward to zoom out. This is the fastest way to get to a new custom pre-zoom position in Cubase and is one of the features I like about Cubase. Right now, the ruler displays the timeline in minutes and seconds, and that means that the 0 cursor position is 0 minutes, 0 seconds, etc. Let's click Return to 0. Let's take a look at the secondary time display on the transport panel. Here we see the display at 00 all the way through. Now I've just dropped my cursor at approximately 10 seconds. You saw previously how we can increase or decrease the height of our tracks. Just select the track you want to change, then position the mouse over the lower or upper edge. You can drag up or down when the double-sided arrow appears, and you can change more than one track at a time by control selecting if they're non-sequential, or by shift selecting if they are sequential. This lets you quickly adjust all your tracks to the same size if you like. And let's try that. Let's say I want the ruler to show my recording in another measurement mode. I'd right-click on the lower half of the ruler, and that's a control click on your Mac. And then I'm going to select bars and beats. Let's zoom in a little bit. As you see here, each bar is divided into 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And each beat is further subdivided into 4 divisions. As you see, I started singing and playing on the first beat of bar 2. On the transport panel, these numbers represent the primary time display, currently bars and beats. Currently, we're at bar 1, beat 4, and almost at the end of beat 4. I can enter a value here with a double click and then press Enter to go to that place in my timeline. Let's enter 4, press Enter, and as you see, we are taken to bar 4. There's a set of smaller numbers on the transport panel. This is called the secondary time display. In our case, it's set in hours, minutes, seconds, and then frames here. If your primary time display is in bars and beats, then your secondary display will always switch to time and vice versa. If we've got minutes and seconds displayed on the left here as the primary time display, then on the right we're going to see the same value in bars and beats. I can also navigate to a place by entering a value on the secondary time display. Just left-click in one of the fields and enter your value, let's say in the seconds position. I'll enter 15 seconds. And the cursor moves to its new position. You can also enter a value by scrolling with the mouse wheel. Just left-click and then scroll. And the cursor will move to your new position. To get to the end of a project quickly, click the Project End button. And this will take you right to the end unless you've got markers set up, and we're going to learn more about using markers later on. If you want Cubase to scroll along with your work in real time during your playback and your recording, you need to toggle on what's called the Autoscroll button. It's active when it's blue. If you want to make edits in one part of the recording, but listening to another part of the recording, you'll need to toggle Autoscroll off. Let's play our work. Autoscroll is currently toggled on. Now, as you see, there aren't any events here, but the cursor continues moving along with the ruler, and our project window follows it. Let's try the same playback with the Autoscroll option toggled off. Just return to the beginning here. Play again. This time our cursor continues moving to the right down the timeline, but the window doesn't accommodate it. We remain with our current zoom position and project window position. These icons are the main editing tools. This is the object selection tool. You use this to select an event. For example, if you want to delete something. Select it, press delete on your keyboard. And let's undo that by going to the edit menu and selecting undo delete. You can also do that with a Control or Command Z. We also use the object selection tool to resize events. Let's select an event that we want to resize. I've got some extraneous matter at the beginning of this voice track here I'd like to get rid of. I'll hover the mouse over the square at the bottom left corner and then drag inward. I've just shortened the event. We can also lengthen it again and restore that original stuff. Remember, we can't extend past the original audio recording. Let me just go to the end of my work. Let's just get back to the end of that event. I'm not able to extend this event, even though I can shorten it. I had some additional speech at the end of this track. Let's just clean that up by shortening the event. These edits don't actually change the file that we recorded. We can always restore that raw recording again for a new mix if we need to. This is a principle of non-destructive editing. The edits that we make in the project file don't delete or change those audio files on our drive. Again, to resize an event, hover your mouse over the square at the bottom right or left until it becomes a double-sided arrow, and then drag in or out as you need to. You may have noticed the triangle in the upper right corner of the event. If I hover my mouse over it, I get the double-sided arrow again, and I'm able to create a fade out this way. Once you see the double-sided arrow, you can drag in towards the left to create a fade out. You see faint blue guidelines that indicate the fade area. The image of the audio wave also adjusts, indicating the fade out. We'll be learning about how to create custom fades later in this course. For now, I'll just let you know that if you double-click on the faded portion, the Fade In or Out dialog window opens, and you can adjust fade parameters from here. Apply and OK to accept your changes. And let's restore the project window by maximizing here. And let's zoom out a little bit more. We can also use the Object Selection tool to move events. Just select an event and then drag it to where you want to position it. You can also drag an event this way to another track, either to a new track or to an existing track. Cubase automatically creates a new track for us to accommodate this event's new location. Don't forget to rename any new tracks you create this way with a name that's easy to identify. Let's undo each of those moves with a Control or Command Z until we're back to the original sequencing of our events. If you want to copy an event, select it with the Object Selection tool, and then select Copy from the Edit menu. Position the cursor where you want the copy to go, and be sure that you've selected the right track for pasting. Now choose Paste from the Edit menu. If you pasted to the wrong track by mistake, no problem, just drag the event to the correct destination. You can copy and paste more than one event at a time this way. Let's Shift-select another event, Edit and Copy, New Position, Edit and Paste. And let's undo that with a Control or Command Z. Return to 0. Let's activate Autoscroll, and I'm taken to where the cursor is. The shortcut for copying is to drag while holding down the Alt key on your PC or the Option key on your Mac. Once you press down that button, you'll see the scissors icon, but don't let that worry you. Just hold down the Option or Alt keys and drag the event to the position where you want the copy to go, then release the mouse button. And there's your copied event. To drop an event in the same position on the timeline but on another track, you select the event, then hold down Alt on your PC, Option on the Mac, move to the next track, and to lock the movement vertically, you press Control on your PC or Command on the Mac and then release. The addition of the Control or Command keys locks the movement vertically so that you can place precisely. The next tool is the Range Selector. You can use this to delete a portion of an event from view or to check on its properties, etc. Let's try it out. I'm going to select and delete this extra portion of the voice that I don't need. I select it and then press Delete on my keyboard and it's gone. Not permanently, however, I can still restore it. Now let me check the noise level of this selection. Audio, Statistics. I see that my peak amplitude during this silent portion is -44, so my background is quiet but not that quiet. Let's close the Stats window and let's restore our project window. Our next tool is the splitter. We use this to cut events. Icons are blue, by the way, when they're active. If the snap tool here is toggled off, then we're able to split events freely anywhere we like. Just hover over the event and left-click to cut the event. A line appears on the event indicating the split. To undo, we can go to Edit and select Undo Split, or just Control or Command Z. If snap mode is toggled on, you'll only be able to cut according to the reference you've set up. In my case, it's a grid at the bar level. Cutting to a bar grid is handy if, for example, you're creating a loop and need to cut an event precisely into bars. With Snap-on, I'm only able to cut right at the bar line. If I try to split at a beat, I can't. Let's switch the snap reference to beat. Now I'm able to split in between the bars at each beat. For more information on how to change the snap reference, please see our tutorial later in this course on snap mode. Using the snap mode can save you a lot of time, and we'll learn about this later on. By the way, if you don't see some of the tools that I've been talking about in the last few minutes, you can right-click or control-click on any of the tool buttons. This pulls up a contextual menu from which you can select the tools that you'd like to display. Let's hide the tool buttons, and the editing tools that we were just talking about are now gone. However, when I hold down a right-click or a command-click on any blank area of the tool panel, I'll see them. Let's restore them, since we use them frequently. Default takes you back to Cubase's default settings for the display. It's possible that your screen resolution doesn't let you see all the tools, so select only those which you need at the time. You can configure which tools are visible and hidden using the Setup option. Currently, my visible items are View switches, Transport buttons, Tool buttons, Autoscroll, and Snap Quantize. Here are my hidden items. From the Setup window, I can modify the order in which they appear. And now the Transport buttons appear on the far left. Let's restore to their original position and click OK. You can scroll through your project using the horizontal scroll bar or through the track listing with the vertical scroll bar. And that's pretty handy when you've got a lot of tracks. If you select an event, split in one place, and then hold down the Alt key on your PC or Option key on your Mac, and split it again a bar later, Cubase will automatically repeat that split for the length of your event. This is a convenient way to break up an event into its component bars and beats, and of course, you can use that to create loops and mixes. Let's undo that repeat split. Now let's talk about the glue tool. The glue tool is how you join events that you've cut with the split tool. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see how the glue tool works. Let's add another split. Activate the split tool. We'll split right about here. Now activate the glue tool and click right before the split, and this will glue these two events back together. The Erase tool is new and it works very simply. You activate it and then click on the event you want to delete. This doesn't modify your source audio file, of course. You can easily restore any portion that you delete this way. The functionality of the next tool, the Zoom tool, will be familiar to you. You click on an event to zoom in, and to zoom out, Control or Command click. Next is the Mute tool. This lets you mute an event. Just click the event that you want to mute while the tool is active, and this lets you hear playback minus the event you've muted without your having to delete it. Click again to unmute. Let's remove some of the events we copied and pasted here. Now let me trim the piano. I'm not able to. That's because I've got snap toggled on. Let's toggle that off, and now I can trim freely here. I'm going to trim it in as close as I can to the start of the audio so that I can copy and paste this precisely later on. Just zoom in a little bit more. Okay, there we go. That looks all right. Let's zoom back out. A left click on this arrow down here will give us some preset zoom positions. Let's use zoom full. Let's do the same at the end. Trim it in tight. Zoom in a little bit more to get as close as I can. And back to zoom full. Now let's trim the voice. I'm going to copy the 2 bars of piano and push back the voice so that I can use that piano phrase as an intro. Now let's activate the magnetic cursor snap mode. This will make the events touch without me having to position at a tight zoom. Alt-drag to copy the event, drop it, and it snaps into place. Snap off. So we've duplicated our piano. Let's push back the voice to match the second piano event. And let's try to line them up well now. Zoom in a bit, drag, match the wavelengths. Now we've got a 2-bar intro of the piano before the voice kicks in. Zoom full. And let's have a listen. There's the piano intro. And now the voice drops in.
Baby, mine, don't you cry. Baby, mine, dry your eyes.
Press the spacebar to stop playback. Okay, let's return our cursor to 0, and because Autoscroll is active, the Windows position will adjust. For fun, let's apply some color to our events. Let's say green on the piano. Now let's select another color for the voice. Let's say purple. Just click the event to apply the color. Activate the object selector, and let's zoom out a bit. This concludes our tutorial on basic editing. We'll be covering many of these tools in greater detail